Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream. Today is September the 3rd. I am going to do your spiritual principle a day in a meditation. I hope that you're doing well this morning. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our Hood Recovery Services. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Well, I'm excited about doing the spiritual principle a day, so let's go ahead and get into it. There we go. All right, September 3rd. Free to be authentically me. We can be ourselves in the present moment without fear or apology, without the need for approval or justification. That is taken from the Living Clean, Chapter 7, Awakenings. As we lived through active addiction, few of us felt free to be fully ourselves. We often needed to pretend to be someone we weren't to get what we wanted or needed. And it didn't take long before we were confused about who we really were. If we ever had any idea in the first place, we were so accustomed to wearing masks that we didn't know what our own faces looked like anymore. The atmosphere of acceptance and welcome we found in NA was a breath of fresh air for those of us who couldn't breathe freely for a long, long time. The basic text tells us the the masks have to go. And we notice that when the metaphorical mask comes off, it's so much easier to breathe. For some of us, NA might be the very first place we have been where we suspected that we might be able to show our true selves to others. We may not feel that way in every meeting or with everyone we know in NA, but little by little, we become much more comfortable showing who we really are. The freedom to be ourselves flows directly out of the sense of security we develop by being welcomed and accepted in NA. Admitting that we are addicts was the first of many admissions. Each time we show a bit more of who we truly are to our fellow members, we increase our sense of security and become free to learn even more about ourselves. We accept who we are and lose the need for approval from others. We no longer feel the need to justify our existence. The insecurity that defined so much of who we were in active addiction fades away, and we become who we were meant to be all along. I will take off my mask and breathe more easily, knowing that others in NA will accept me for who I am. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference just for today. Please and thank you. I'm just sitting in the peace of this, the peace of my morning, the peace of this podcast. I'm just sitting in it. The mask. I think COVID-19 brought on a new understanding of mask. Maybe not a new understanding, but these medical masks were to protect us from being exposed to possible infection of the coronavirus. And I can remember when it first came out, I had a lady that needed a room to stay, and she had been staying with me for at least one month. She had paid for 3. She had stayed with me for 1 month in one of our spare rooms. And she was having evidence of not being well. Um, and I remember when she showed me her medical papers, she showed me her medical papers the same week that they announced that the United States was being taken by storm with this coronavirus. And people should get ready to lock down. And she had plenty of other places to be. In fact, her sickness really came from just, kind of hanging out with other people in their own environments that weren't clean. And I remember saying to her, um, I can't worry about coronavirus and prepare my house and clean my house and sanitize and bleach down everything. And at that time, I was making masks. I was using a Hong Kong University video that I had found of some students that were teaching other people how to make masks, because at that time there was a shortage. There were not enough masks for every person in the world to even have a new mask every day. And so I was making my own mask, and I was making masks for my family. And I remember having to ask her to move, and it felt horrible. But my family needed the space to be able to process um, the lockdown without having to also process being locked down with someone that was sick with something that was very contagious. Um, so that's enough of that backdrop. But the point that I'm making is that when the pandemic hit, the mask was promoted as something that would save your life. That's not the mask that we're talking about here. Metaphorically, we're talking about the mask that the basic text tells us has to go. We're talking about that screen that we put over who we really are, that face that we paint when we're interacting with other people, that political correctness that we use, that uh, cultural humility that we use, um, that is not necessarily always who we are, even though I think cultural humility, it should be a part of who everyone is. But you understand what I'm saying, that fakeness, that way that we operate to keep other people at bay, and we do it, and it is very productive. It does work, right? I'm talking about that. I am talking about that because that is what I believe this is talking about that needs to change. The ability to be ourselves. We're no longer um, living with fear, and we're no longer apologizing for who we are. We don't seek approval or justification from anyone anymore. And I think that is one of the most powerful gifts that I have ever received from this program, is that I am okay with me today. I'm okay with who I am today. And I'm okay if who I am doesn't work with who you are today. And I'm okay with who you are today. And this is a place where I feel safe to express who I am and how I feel. And this was really, honestly, one of the first places where I could be having a bad day and grow through, or I could be having a great day and just sit in it. It wasn't like anyone, there were a few people that checked my behavior, but they were genuinely interested in me being a better person and not having an off effect on the group. Some of my behavior in the beginning in the group was horrible. I had such an anger issue, such a quiet on the outside, but violent on the inside. And so I learned that this was the first place that I didn't have to let those situations and circumstances in my day to day life control me anymore. I could just go to a meeting and share about it. Sometimes I got feedback, sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I received it, sometimes I didn't. But the point was is that I was able to start taking the trash out of my insides and not let it fester and make me sick. And I hope that's your experience. I hope that you are learning that no one, I don't want to say no one cares. Obviously we care, but no one cares about those idiosyncrasies, those things that you have about you that you've been so insecure about would probably really lighten up our day if we were able to see you, to know you, metaphorically taking that mask off and seeing that it's easier to breathe. This is not a new well, it is. This meditation should have been written within the time frame of the pandemic. So in that sense it is new, but can you know those masks, those N95s, those masks that has a little space in them for you to breathe? And but what happens is that you're breathing and the air is not leaving the mask, right? So it's kind of staying right there, and then when you inhale again, it just creates this vacuum that is overwhelming, and it's a beautiful mask. But you see people all the time just pulling it because it's on elastic ear loops, right? Pulling it away, even the cheaper ones, you're pulling it away so that you can take a real breath, a deeper breath, which you could do through your nose, but they're recommending that your nose is covered. So you see how taking the mask off, metaphorically, you can see taking the mask off that we've been wearing for all these years and being able to breathe now better. It's the same way. When you remove that filter that you have put up, you are able to now function better because the weight of having to wear a mask every day, all day, maybe except for with the ones that are closest to you, is very tiring. It's very exhausting. It takes away your ability to function and to thrive. And who else better to experiment removing that spiritual mask off with than us? Because generally speaking, that we're not going to pass judgment on whether you successfully take it off or not. We're not, because this is a place where we understand that we're fallible. We understand that we all make mistakes. We understand that we're all trying to recover from our past and become better people, and just not allow guilt and shame and remorse to drive us to the drug. Really wouldn't matter what you look like underneath the mask. No one is going to judge that. I would think that if there was going to be any kind of judgment, it would be because of the mask and people wanting to know your authentic self. But you get to pick and choose, right? You get to pick and choose who your authenticity comes through with. But hopefully, eventually, after you've been around a while, you will be authentic with all of us. Hey, today, tell yourself, I will take off my mask and breathe more easily, knowing that others in NA will accept me for who I am. I accept you for who you are, and I hope you're surrounded by people that do the same. Remember to be that way with others as well. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed your company. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will be talking to you tomorrow.